But now, Mary Parkinson joins us on film to tell us about an everyday experience that sends messages to our subconscious. Sounds peculiar. Well, Mary will explain.
Probably we all indulge in that frustrating delight known as window shopping. The creator of the world's most famous display mannequins is Ada Roostein. She feels that this is how some shop windows tempt us first to eye and then to buy.
I'd say it's a question of isolating the window from the store and forming a relationship between the clothing, the mannequins, and the person looking into the window. It's a sort of moment of fantasy in which somebody, say with little money or a lot of money, can imagine themselves in that place in the window. So that it gives one a moment when one feels better, bigger, more beautiful, more theatrical than one could possibly be in life itself. So that the person walking in the street is attracted immediately to it. And then a sort of relationship sets up between the person looking into the window and the window itself. There was an American artist who said he felt that it was the window display mannequins looking at him and not he looking at them. And I can sometimes understand that. And most people want a little fantasy in their lives, and the window itself is a stage, and that makes a moment of theater and fantasy for the person. They can imagine themselves in different clothes, in different situations. Different stores have different images, or else every store would look exactly the same. Now, a display man understands his store and projects the store's image, and people choose what type of store they want to shop in. These mannequins had sculptured feet and round waists and all the same wrists and the same faces. They have nipples, navels, and although they still have the technical fittings, which is essential for dressing or transport, they in fact have to be properly accessorized and properly used, and their poses change as fashion demands. So we're working very close to fashion. In fact, we're working about 18 months ahead of fashion, projecting what is going to happen in the window about 18 months ahead of now. By the time the fashion comes onto the market, our mannequin has to be able to sell those clothes. So the pose she takes up, the image she projects, has to be the correct fashion image for the store and for the display man at that moment.
You used Twiggy, actually, before she was famous.
I feel that fashion's very closely related to social changes. There is a feeling in the air. I think all sort of fashion designers or ancillary to fashion design, we all have the same sort of feelings and know what's going to happen. In the 70s, when there was this amazing change in women, women became slightly more determined. Bodies were exposed, nipples became fashionable and see-through garments, and the angles used on the mannequins was such that it expressed that particular social change. At the same time, of course, it showed fashion correctly.
Tell me, why do you choose real people to model your mannequins on?
A very simple reason: real people wear clothes. And for as long as this is so, we will continue. That doesn't mean that there aren't sort of side things, that one doesn't do a fantasy collection or a stylized collection or even an occasional nostalgic collection. But the main theme running through all the collections is realism, because we want people to relate to the mannequin and to the reality of it, to the image that projects. This is Henri van der Zee. He's a historian and journalist, and that's him at the back as well, except he's got his spectacles and his moustache over there. And now he's grown a beard. I think we're going to have to put a beard on him.
So that's two different looks?
Yeah, the same man, two different looks. But the thing is that he's sitting down, and poses can now be very naturalistic, sitting, lying. And I suppose we really were the first to do that. When one gives Henri a newspaper and a table and a telephone, he looks even more uncannily real than he does at the moment.
How really accurate are your likenesses? Is it really warts and all? I mean, would you put imperfections into a model?
Well, Henri feels it looks like him, and I feel that... And his child recognized him in a window. She said, "My daddy's famous," when she saw him in a window. So I suppose if a child recognizes it, it must be pretty good. I mean, it must be similar to him.
Why did you bother to introduce men as mannequins? I mean, do men bother looking in shop windows? Don't they just walk in and buy a shirt?
Actually, I think men are far more fashion conscious than women, and we find now that we have to do new men's collections almost as often as women's. We had one model, a lady of uncertain age, who went into a store and said, "I'd never wear anything like that," so they kicked her out of the store. But the Americans, for instance, are so enthusiastic about theirs. They just love seeing themselves in the window. Of course, part of this, as they are handmade, is to give people whatever they need. They can choose their own makeups, their own wigs, their own style, because after all, they have to sell the image of their store and their merchandise, and they know it, and we work for them.
What's your prediction for the future look?
Pattern Pretty will be on the market, will be in the store windows in February and March. She's being previewed at the moment.
So the next time you go window shopping, look a little longer at those mannequins, eternally trapped behind cold glass. You might be surprised at what you see. Cheers.